On Monday, the bodies of 3 kidnapped Israeli teenagers were found in the West Bank. Today, we're learning that the body of an Arab teenager has been found in Jerusalem. Israeli police are looking into whether or not it belongs to a kidnapped Palestinian boy, possibly in revenge. Could this be the start of an uprising? Joel Pollack, editor at Breitbart.com, joins us with more from Chicago. Joel, it seems to me if any situation calls for more information, answers, and just generally a de-escalation, then this is the one.
Well, it's not clear that's going to happen. Certainly there are many people who are outraged by this. Now there's been kind of a retaliatory attack, apparently by some Israelis who killed a Palestinian. And the difference, of course, is that the Israeli government has condemned the attack, has vowed to find and punish the perpetrators. Of course, the opposite was true on the Palestinian side when the 3 Israeli teens went missing. There you had the Palestinian Authority newspaper celebrating the kidnapping and hoping that these 3 civilians could be used for exchanging military prisoners. So quite a striking difference between the two societies. Nevertheless, I think that the tension is going to continue to build. And for the moment, I think this really puts Palestinian statehood on hold because there's no trust in the peace process. And from the Israeli side, at least, no trust in the Palestinian Authority's ability to police itself or carry out basic functions of government.
And let's delve a bit more into that. What specifically do you mean is going to get put on hold? What sort of talks or processes or just sort of general ill will kiboshing all relations right now?
I think that the hope among Americans and the Obama administration in particular was that the peace process would continue despite some of the recent setbacks, despite the Hamas-Fatah unity government, which appears to flout U.S. law. There was some hope that, well, maybe this will get things together. Maybe we can still have one final diplomatic push. That ended with this kidnapping. It is probably no coincidence that Martin Indyk, who's was the Obama administration special envoy to the Middle East, resigned in the midst of all this. So there really is no trust whatsoever. And I think that, like the 2 administrations before it, both of which tried to make a late push for Israeli-Palestinian peace, this one is going to fall well short, and in this case, it really is largely of Obama's own making. He had put so much pressure on the Israelis that the Palestinians stepped up their demands, felt no pressure to negotiate, and really thought that they were going to win something finally decisive with the support of the United States, tacitly anyway. They believe Obama is more sympathetic to them than to the Israelis, and not without cause. So I think that's basically scuttled things. This violence is not something you can easily walk away from, especially as it was directed against Israeli civilians and appeared to have the endorsement of both factions, that is, not just Hamas, but the supposedly moderate faction of Palestinian government.
So you're suggesting that the moral climate was really such that folks thought, well, you know what, we can get away with an incident like this, and it's not really going to be that big of a deal because there hasn't been expectations placed upon us? Is that the idea?
I think that Hamas, in particular, believes that only force achieves results in the Middle East. And you can understand why they would believe that, because if you look at all the things that ultimately pushed Israel to withdraw from territory, it was military force combined with international pressure. So you have Israel leaving Lebanon in 2000 after 20 years of a war of attrition, essentially, with the Shiite guerrillas in southern Lebanon. You have Israel withdrawing from the Gaza Strip in 2005, which from a Palestinian perspective was because of rockets and violence. From the Israeli perspective was because of strategy and international diplomatic gains that they hoped to gain by giving up some territory and demonstrating they were willing to concede. But from the Hamas retelling of this history, it's all because of the use of violence by Islamist groups, whether Sunni or Shia, and they see any opportunity to seize Israeli citizens, whether soldier or civilian, as an opportunity worth taking, never mind the unity government, never mind the peace process. So in that sense, the climate hadn't changed. On the other side, however, I think with the Obama administration committing so much political capital to the process, there was probably some expectation among Palestinians, at least, that the Obama administration would push Israel to make some kind of concessions. The Israelis did not want to make concessions, in fact, had locked in further and further into not making concessions because they felt that the Obama administration was putting their security at risk. But given the urgency of the Iran problem, which Israel wants America's help with, the pressure on the Netanyahu government to make some kinds of concessions was increasing. That's why you saw these prisoner releases over the last year, where Israel gave up convicted murderers to the Palestinian Authority, and not in exchange for anything, just in exchange for goodwill. So I think Palestinians anticipated that there was going to be some kind of breakthrough. That is definitely over, because the Palestinians didn't think that breakthrough had to come from them accepting Israel, recognizing Israel, stopping the incitement against Israelis and Jews. But rather, they thought it was simply going to be political pressure that they applied combined with military pressure that Hamas applied. That's all fallen apart. This kidnapping is a failure on both those fronts. First of all, it's going to make a very strong case for Israel exerting security control over large portions of the West Bank, at least. And secondly, it also means there's no diplomatic trust whatsoever. The Palestinian Authority did nothing to find these teens, at least nothing effective to find these teens. And furthermore, it cheered on as the kidnappers carried out their deed and hoped for their success. So I think the peace process is done. Palestinian statehood now is very much in question, because if Israel can't trust the Palestinian Authority even to investigate and participate in criminal investigations of this kind, or terror investigations, there's no real reason for Israel to endorse the creation of a Palestinian state. Rather, there'd be some kind of autonomy, but general Israeli administrative control of the West Bank.
Joel Pollack, we're out of time. I'd like to discuss this situation more, but we'll have to leave that until next time. Thanks very much for joining us.